Hey y'all, I'm your host, Aaron Smith of the Offshore Marine Service Association. Each Friday, I'll bring you the Offshore Briefing, a quick rundown of the week's notable developments, updates, and news you need to know in the offshore space. Whether you're on deck or at your desk, we're glad you're here. Hey y'all, this is Aaron Smith with the Offshore Briefing. I'm coming to you as always as part of our Maritime in America podcast series. With me as always, as I was about to say, Ashley and Angel. How are y'all doing today?
Melting in the seat, but great.
Doing well. I'm in the air, so I'm happy.
Well, I'm in the air, but it still is hot. I'm just a baby.
It was actually, I just flew in from DC today before we started recording, and as usual, recording on Thursday afternoon. And so just flew in from DC. DC, as you know, as people would always say that DC was founded on a swamp. And it was hotter and humid, more humid than New Orleans. So rarely do I fly into New Orleans and have a temperature break, but today that actually happened. So I don't know if that's a good sign or a sign that the world's coming to an end, but it was nice to come back to cool New Orleans after being in DC this week. So, and that kind of wraps our ties into what I saw this week and what the topic I want to talk about, and this will be front and center for OMSA members in tomorrow's Friday Fast Facts. But I saw there was an op-ed in the Washington Times from Congressman Mike Ezell 2 days ago, posted on Tuesday. So 3 days ago when this will air. And it was titled, "Congress Must Pass an Updated Coast Guard Authorization to Support Our Coasties." And completely agree. We've talked on the podcast before about just how great Congressman Ezell is and how great his staff is to work with. And hopefully our listeners will get to experience that themselves sometime soon. But Congressman Ezell represents the southern part of Mississippi, so represents a district that has quite a bit of shipbuilding in it, quite a bit of maritime activity in it. Lots of mariners live in his district, even if they don't work in his district. They, will commute down to Port Fourchon or something like that. I know there's quite a few Mississippi mariners that work in our industry, and most live in Congressman Ezell's district. But the thing I really noticed about this, and for that reason, because of his interest and involvement in the maritime industry, Congressman Ezell is the chairman of the Coast Guard and Maritime Transportation Subcommittee. Each, Congress is divided up into committees, and then committees are kind of general subject matter. And then within committee, you will have the subcommittee, which is the true subject matter experts. So this subcommittee is the subject matter experts on Coast Guard, and he's the head of that subcommittee. So this op-ed is definitely something in his wheelhouse and something that is very important and near and dear to him. But I think there's a message that he's sending here, and that message is that we need to pass an updated Coast Guard bill. And I think update in that title, I think, is intentional and important. What's that saying there is that what's going on is the Senate didn't pass a Coast Guard bill until very late last year. And then when they did, it didn't include a lot of stuff. Subsequently, the Senate tried this Congress. If a bill doesn't get enacted, it dies at the end of the Congress, which happened on January 3rd of this year.
Why didn't it?
I'm sorry, what were you saying, Angel?
Why did it die? Because it didn't, the time elapsed?
Yeah, why didn't it pass last year?
So what happened was actually there was a provision in the bill which Congressman Scalise, then Congressman Garrett Graves, Congressman Garamendi had put in the bill, and others, Congressman Sam Graves of Missouri, Rick Larson of Washington State. This provision said that when foreign vessels operate in U.S. sovereign waters, that those foreign vessels have to abide by the same crewing rules as U.S. vessels. So when you come into our country, you have to play by the same rules as us. And what this provision does is it makes sure that people like the mariners who work for Stacy, like John Fontenot and Cooper Fontenot, and like Rick Spade, those mariners in their own country aren't disadvantaged by foreign workers. That seems to make sense. But there are a lot of people that would rather employ a foreigner than an American because foreigners are always going to be cheaper, and we don't need to apologize for Americans making great wages in this industry. I'm never going to apologize for that. That's not something we should do. So those people would not negotiate with us, with the champions of this provision, and with AMSA, we are one of the primary supporters of this provision. And so when they wouldn't negotiate with us, the bill died. And with it, all of the great changes that were being made to the Coast Guard, because they wouldn't negotiate and wouldn't agree to hire Americans. So instead of then this Congress, when Congress restarted on January 3rd, what the Senate tried to do is, instead of, okay, well, that didn't work, we need to now update our work product, and we need to create a modern Coast Guard bill that addresses the issues of today. Instead, what they did is they just hit Control-C, hit Control-V, and reposted what they did last Congress. So Congressman Ezell is rightfully here saying, no, we have to pass a bill that addresses today's challenges. And so I think that word, it's a small word, but it's a very important word in this op-ed that I've seen, is that it's an updated Coast Guard bill. And so I saw that, and I really thought that was important this week. And I just wanted to make sure that everyone caught on to why there was, sometimes there's something hiding in plain sight. And this is one of those instances where we do need a Coast Guard bill that is passed by Congress and passed in short order and addresses the challenges of the Coast Guard and addresses the challenges of our industry today. So that was what I saw. What'd you all see?
Well, I would like to point out, and what we're working on at AMSA, because it kind of goes with all this, we're doing a lunch and learn on Tuesday, July 22nd in Homa. And we're going to talk about offshore market research. We're going to have forecasts. We're going to have all sorts of great stuff. That'll be out in tomorrow's Friday Fast Facts for AMSA members to RSVP. It's going to be great. Kind of ties into all this of what we've got going on. I think they want to highlight key projects as well. We're working with our sponsor and presenter. So everyone keep an eye out for that. It's going to be a great event, and it'll be a great time for us to get together over the summer.
I am excited about this. I know every time we have a market analyst come and talk to our members. It's always well attended. And so even if you don't, if that market intel isn't something that necessarily you're involved in, it's just like Ashley said, a great chance to get involved and to make sure that you're getting in front of your customers or are getting in front of your suppliers and meeting the people you need to meet. But in addition to that networking opportunity, yeah, I am excited about the analysis that's going to be presented. It sounds like it's not just off. So many times everyone just lumps the offshore industry in together and thinks it's like one big industry. And it's really not. We have member companies that are just doing the decommissioning market or just doing the survey market, and members that are, operate OSVs and operate lift boats. And those are all different market segments. And in talking to the analyst, it really seems like they want to talk about each of those segments and really dive into each of those segments. So I think that's going to be very useful and interesting.
That is interesting. And we're going to have people from every segment there. Is it open to other people?
Well, it's an AMSA event, so if people do want to come, they should join. We just rolled out our Become a Member in 2025. There's still time. We still have half a year left of plenty of stuff going on. So if anyone's interested to come, just sign up with AMSA, and we'd love to have them.
Yeah. And look, it's like we continue to say on these podcasts, that if you enjoy this content, this content is what is just a very small slice of what members get in the Friday Fast Facts and in the alerts that we put out on PAMs and on MMC issues and on unwild issues and all these other acronyms that don't make any sense to anyone. These are where we spell out all of that information, where we provide that information. So I think it's if you like this content, this is just the tip of the iceberg of what AMSA membership provides.
And Ashley, how does one become an AMSA member?
Good question.
Yeah, there's tons of ways. I mean, first and foremost, just go ahead and give me a call at 504-528-9411 or shoot me an email at ashley.smith@offshoremarine.org. I'm happy to send over all the membership details. You can also go to our website, offshoremarine.org, and click the Become a Member link. You can sign up right then and there. But yeah, and our website also holds a plethora of membership benefits in our events calendar. And we're adding a new regulatory section where all of our important regulatory AMSA alerts are going to be online for AMSA members to log in and view. So, when we send regulatory issues out of what the Coast Guard's doing, or really just anything that affects our members, there's one place for it to be accessed. I think it's going to be a great resource for our members to use. And all they have to do is log into their account and they can access all the information. We have it going back the past 2 years too. So it should be really helpful for everyone.
No, it will be very helpful for me, because I know there's constantly times where I'm like, hey, I know we sent out an alert on this, but my email box is just a disaster and I can't find it. So having it right there at our fingertips will be useful.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's going to be helpful to not have to dig through emails, because it's not easy to search for emails as like back in the day.
Yeah. Well, that is great. Well, and I do want to make a note as we're wrapping up here. I do want to make a note to our listeners that we will not, next Friday is July 4th, so we will not be recording the offshore briefing next Friday. So everyone, I guess, just post your best USA t-shirt design or meme in this space instead of listening to the podcast here. So, but if there is content for when we come back that you want to hear, please reach out. Let us know. If you have an idea for another Lunch and Learn, let us know. We're always open to that. And again, if you like what you're hearing here, please become a member of AMSA, and make sure that if you also just like what you're hearing, like, subscribe, and download our podcast here. Make sure you tell your friends.
And for those pictures, you can tag at Offshore America so we can see it.
Yes, good call, good call. Well, thank you all. Everyone, take care and be safe.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
That wraps up another episode of Maritime in America. We're proud to highlight the voices and stories that keep the American offshore industry strong. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us, and remember, the course ahead is shaped by those who step up and steer it. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your crew. Tune in every Friday for your offshore briefing, and don't miss our next full episode, dropping soon with a very special guest, Mariner's Perspective. Catch you next time.